For those who are tuning in over Zoom, welcome to this closing talk. It's the last day of our 6-day retreat. And the big question that people have at the end of a retreat is, how can they keep their meditation practice going in their daily life? Because when you go into retreat, everything is sort of organized and you're expected to come to all the sessions. You're meditating in a group, so you feel kind of self-conscious, or if you don't come to a session, you skip sessions, or if you get up in the middle, or make noises, so somehow you exert the effort to sit still and come to the sessions, even though the mind is having difficulties. So, and then because of doing 5 or 6 days of meditation, hopefully you would have gained some better mindfulness and concentration, and then hopefully be able to continue that on your own when you go home. Anyway, in this closing talk, I want to talk about how going to retreat is like climbing a mountain. And let's say, again, we're going to take a little journey. Let's say you lived in a village at the base of a mountain someplace, but you never bothered climbing the mountain because you thought you weren't in shape for that, or there was nothing much to see up there, and you just never bothered, or you thought it was too much effort or strain to do that. And so you were content just to move around in the city at the base of that mountain and just put up with the crowd, the traffic, or the potholed roads, or the construction sites, the pollution, and the noise of the city, the barking dogs, and you kind of got used to it. You drive around the same old routes, drive the same streets to go to work, same roads to go to the supermarket or to visit your relatives. And even though there was traffic and all those other things I mentioned, you kind of just, put up with it. You saw, well, that's just the way it is, or normal. And you didn't know much else about the city, really. But then, so you had a friend who used to come around once in a while and try to get you to go on a hike up the mountain. So that person would come over on a nice Saturday or Sunday morning, say, knock on your door, say, come on, let's go hike up the mountain. And you kind of yawn and turn over. No, not today. You turn over and go back to sleep. And so that might have happened a number of times. But then one time, the person comes by again, asks the same question, and finally say, oh, okay, you look out the window and it's kind of a nice day, and say, okay, I'll go hike up the mountain with you, kind of just to get the person off his back, And so you get dressed, and you go out your back door, you start to walk down the long alleyway over to the foot of the mountain where the trail starts. As you walk out the back door, start walking down the alley, neighbors' dogs are barking, and there's a smell of garbage, and the dogs are digging through the garbage. Maybe one of them, chases you to want to bite you, and the boom boxes are going on, and neighbors are yelling at each other in their houses, and trucks are, noise of trucks is barreling. So you finally get to the base and you start walking up. And after walking up maybe 20 or 30 feet, you get above the the rooftops. And you kind of smell, oh, the air is a little bit fresher, not so much polluted, or the smell of the garbage. And the noise is starting to get less and less. So you keep walking up the mountain, and at a certain distance, maybe 500 feet up, there's a nice bench there, and you decide to sit down and take a rest. And then you look out. Now you have a much wider viewpoint of the city, and you can see things that you hadn't seen before. And the air is much fresher, the noise is much less. Then you get up and you keep walking up further. And each 500 feet or so, or a certain distance, there's a bench. You sit down, and with each stop, you see a wider panorama. You see, different streets and different things in the far distant that you didn't know that were around the city. Then finally you get up, not even to the very top, but you get up, let's say, even just 3/4 of the way. And finally you said, well, I had enough. And you and your friend, you stop and again survey the whole panorama. And as you're doing that, you see, wow, look at there. There's a park with nice shady trees and a lake. And there's swans paddling around on the lake. Wow, so beautiful. I didn't know that. I got to remember that. And so as he keeps on, panoraming or looking over the city, you realize, wow, there's another way I can drive to work that doesn't involve so much, going through construction sites or traffic. And there's another way I can drive over to, Uncle Joe's house. Again, with less traffic, with less potholes and so on, shorter shortcuts. And so like that, you start seeing new possibilities, ways of moving around in the city, and things that you can enjoy that you hadn't known before. But then you can't stay on the mountain forever. You have to go back down. So you start to go back down, and as you start walking back down, little by little, that wide panorama vanishes. And slowly, slowly, the noise of the city and the smell and pollution gradually comes up again. And so you get back down to the hill, and now you're in a hurry to, because you had spent a couple of hours up there, you were in a hurry to, check your emails or answer your answering machine or check the news. So as you get back down to the bottom, your pace picks up to get back home, but then you're not really watching where you're going, and you're walking kind of quick, and you step in some dog doo-doo. You get upset about that, and maybe one of the dogs starts to bark at you and chase you down, and so you finally get back into your house. And immediately, go to your computer and start checking those things. So that is a kind of a simile or an analogy, a comparison of going on a retreat. So when you go on a retreat, maybe you put off going on a retreat for a long time. Or maybe you went on one retreat some years ago, and then it's been a long time, you kept on saying, yes, I'm going to go on and need another retreat, but you keep on putting it off, like the guy putting off going on the hike. And does that sound familiar to any of you? So when you go on a retreat, it's also like climbing a mountain. But in this case, climbing the mountain of our body and mind. And, through that practice of mindfulness. And as we've been doing, using the breathing in the body to get centered, and then trying to gain that detached perspective, like sitting in the balcony seat, just to sort of observe your body breathing, observe it sitting and breathing, and then when you're standing up, you're just sort of watching the body standing, breathing. When you're walking, you're just sort of watching the body walking, lifting, swinging, placing, shifting forward. And just trying to develop that inward movie camera of the mind, the inbuilt natural movie camera of the mind. And as days go on in a retreat, or as you gain the ability to count the breaths, and then maybe you do some, the yoga exercise, you learn some different things on the retreat. Just like when you climb up the mountain, you learn new ways to live in your own body and mind. Maybe you realize that, oh my gosh, I have lungs. I can actually, take a deep, slow breath. I can actually hold in my breath for several seconds and have a good feeling from that. How the holding in the breath, you can't really think about anything when you're holding in the breath. It develops a sense of awareness. We're doing the yoga exercises. Wow, I don't have to just come in and sit down with a stiff body and have my meditation being about pain and discomfort. I can actually spend 10 or 15 minutes doing some stretches, doing some deep breathing, and sitting down and find out that the meditation can be a little bit more enjoyable, or at least to get into a state of awareness or concentration a little bit easier. And then practicing the slow walking meditation, and see how that also helps you to concentrate. So, and then, like the person who sees the lake, maybe you gain some concentration, and whether it's a jhana or it's just simply a calm state of mind where you're well centered in breathing body, and the thoughts have slowed down, and you're feeling some pleasant sensations, and just that vibration of just being there in the moment with, sitting, breathing, sounds going, thoughts coming and going, but the mind is kind of find that little centered point there. So that's like seeing the cool lake, so actually I kind of got ahead of myself. But so let's come back to the person who has just finished that hike down the mountain. Then they went to the computer. And they start answering their emails and so on. And very quickly they lose that panorama of the scene from the mountain, and they almost like forget about it. And they go back to their daily routine. But then a few weeks later, there's the heart of the summer, when it's 30 grad, yes, 30 grad, they're warm, on a hot day, and the power go out, power cut. And you don't have any AC in your house. The fan doesn't work. It's 100 degrees, and you're sweating, and you're getting really uncomfortable, and starting to get angry at the electric company or something else that happened. And you realize, oh, I remember there's a lake somewhere in the town with shady trees and swans. Let me find that place. Let me go there and take a cool dip. So you try to look it up, and somehow you manage to find on an old map this lake on the outside of the town. And so you go there and you enjoy that. You go into the cool water and submerge yourself in the cool water, and come back out and sit under a shady tree, and then the swans are coming up, and you give it a little breath, and you're quite enjoyable. A lot different than just sitting in your hot, dusty house. So I just wanted to add that because so now coming back to the when you come back from a retreat. So a lot of people, when they go to retreat, that happens, they get caught back in their daily life, and maybe you're on a retreat for 5 or 6 days, or maybe longer, and you had to find somebody to cover your work at your work site, so somebody had to work overtime or extra days to do your work while you were gone. And now that you got back, that person is gone on a holiday, so now you have to work extra time to cover that person's work, and so you get all caught up, and you wind up, forgetting about the meditation, or not having enough time to meditate. And so that's something that's quite a common thing. Until you wind up, getting, in a neurotic state, or you start getting depressed, and then, oh, it's time for another retreat. I need to go on another retreat. So people, then you might then try to, go on another retreat. And, but anyway, at the end of the retreat, people who may not have had a regular meditation practice at home before, or maybe you did, but it had slipped away, and now a retreat is a time to kind of restart your practice. A lot of people have that idea that they want to restart their meditation practice that maybe had slipped away for some time, and then they saw the difference that it makes when you don't have regular meditation. The mind gets more, easily disturbed and upset with things going on, and negative thoughts start coming back in, and so on. So, now how many of you already have, maybe the last day or two, been kind of plotting out how you're going to practice meditation each day? Okay, I'm going to get up Bhante got up at 5:30. Do yoga for 20 minutes. I'm going to sit and meditate for 30 minutes. And a lot of times people ask me, actually, they say, what if you want to do both yoga and meditation, what is a good breakdown for that? So usually I would say, if you only have an hour, let's say you only have an hour, it should be a 1 to 3 ratio. So 20 minutes, or 1/3 of the time for yoga, 2/3 of the time for meditation. Because ultimately meditation is more important than the yoga. But again, there's a lot of flexibility in that and so on. But generally, as a general rule, to do about 20 minutes of yoga and then a longer meditation. Because you'll probably have a better meditation by doing the yoga, because in doing the yoga, especially if you do the kind that I've been showing you and so on, and doing it by deep, slow breathing, coordinating the movements, and repeating them 3 times, the mind gets into this flow, flow of that kind of rhythm. And so when you sit down, the mind can still be there. Or when you start to sit down again, you're already kind of meditating. So it's easier to, you can have a shorter meditation, but a better quality of meditation. A lot of people think, oh, you have to meditate, like Goenka says, you have to meditate 1 hour, or nothing, So he doesn't say nothing, but, spend 1 hour a day. So 1 hour is quite a lot for people. And, so anyway, if you do 20 minutes of yoga and 40 minutes of sitting, basically it's 1 hour of meditation, because you are meditating when you're doing the yoga, if you do it with the right mindfulness. So, and maybe twice a day. And normally most teachers will advise you to meditate twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. Because the morning meditation is probably the most important, because it helps to set up the vibration of mindfulness before you go out and start, go out into the world and start mingling with people and so on. So it helps to, begin your mindfulness. But usually by mid-morning, whatever benefit you might have gotten from the morning meditation, it might have started to wear off, because especially depending on what kind of job you have, if you're a policeman or a policewoman, or even in an office, phone calls and meetings you have to go to. So, and so by nighttime, you might have, accumulated a lot of stress, and so that people you might be tired, or you had to work for others, and but in the evening time, the meditation helps to let go of the stress that you might have accumulated during the day. And in the evening is a good time to practice forgiveness and metta. So during the day, if you had some unpleasant encounters with people or other situations, or you did something foolish unmindfully, you did something, you used some bad speech to somebody or something, you can, in that evening, forgive yourself for whatever, unmindful things you might have done, and forgives anybody else. I mean, forgiving them in your own mind, they might not be around, for what you perceived that they had done to you. And then send metta to yourself and all other beings in whatever way you've learned it, or just, may myself be well and happy, free from greed, hatred, and delusion. A lot of times in the metta meditation, they focus on just repeating, may I be well, peaceful, and happy. May my parents be well, peaceful, and happy. But they hardly ever mention, may they be free from greed, hatred, and delusion. So that's why I always include that. Because you can't be well and happy if you still have negative thoughts and so on. So we should wish people and ourselves to be free from greed, hatred, and delusion, or fear, and to be free from the pains of body and mind that come with those negative thoughts, and then to be well and happy. Anyway, there's a lot of different ways, to practice the metta meditation. But anyway, the idea is to let go of any negativity or stress that you might have accumulated during the day, so that hopefully you would have a more peaceful sleep. And then maybe you would feel like getting up in the morning to do meditation in the morning. So again, ideally meditating twice a day is probably the minimum for being able to make steady progress. If you want to just stagnate in one place and just meditate once a day for 30 minutes or so, okay, it may help you and have some benefit, but I doubt if it's going to really go much deeper than that. So anyway, so what happens when people go home? So let's say you made this little routine. You're going to meditate in the morning, you're going to meditate in the evening, you're going to practice some yoga. Maybe you read a sutta each day to help get the right understanding. But this is a common occurrence. So when you go home, maybe you will meditate twice a day for the first day or two. And then because of things accumulating at work, as I mentioned, that usually what happens is the evening meditation will be the first to let go of. Because again, you working maybe late or just stressed out, and you don't feel like meditating. All you want to do is go home and crack a beer and sit in a soft chair and watch a sitcom or a horror movie or something. Or watch the news, all the horrible stuff that's going on over the news. So anyway, so then you're only doing one time of meditation. And then maybe you're able to do a 45-minute meditation for several days or a few weeks, or at a certain point though, as things go on, that 45-minute meditation may drop to just 30 minutes. Then the 30-minute meditation, a little bit longer down on, it drops to 15 minutes. Before you know it, you're swigging down the last cup of Joe coffee, and you pat the Buddha on the head and you say, Namo Buddhaya! You meditate for me. And that's all your meditation. Oh, that ever happened to you? So, Mokara Karana. That's singular for what's to do. So it's true that there's so many things that creep up, especially in lay life. You have family, you have social responsibilities, and all these different things are constantly pulling at you. And it's your time, and especially if you live in a place where others may not appreciate your practice of the Dhamma or consider it a threat to them, and so on. So people that have trouble, meditating longer at home, And there's a new, it's not new anymore, but there's another form of meditation called an M&M. I think everybody here has heard of the M&Ms. Anybody not heard about the M&M? Okay, so everybody's heard about it. A minute meditation. So these are especially good for training, where you train yourself to stop once an hour for 1 minute. And so you can set a beeper on your watch. They have apps now that you can employ that set off little tunes or reminders to stop. So you kind of just stop whatever you were doing and take a deep, slow breath and bring your attention to the body. And just do a minute of standing, breathing in, standing, breathing out, standing. Standing is the best time to actually do it, but you can also do it when you're sitting, if you're at your computer and you just finished a whole line of emails, and before you start to answer your phone messages, stop. Just let go of that future, that push to the future. Take a deep, slow breath. Hold the breath in for a few seconds, and just pause. And just be aware of standing, breathing, continue. Even doing 3 slow, deep breaths, 3 3-part breaths, is already 1 minute. And so while you're doing that, you would have relaxed the body a bit and the mind, especially if you're holding in the breath, developing the ability to take a deeper breath, holding it in. And so you would have forgotten about whatever stress or negativity that you were caught up in, at that time. You're pausing for 1 minute, and then you start doing again what you were doing. But the idea behind it is to be able to let go of stress or any negative thoughts that you might have been into, or just that push to the future, and to kind of cut it off and stop it, and just come to the present moment. Now, how many people, during this retreat, you've been practicing kind of that breathing, 3-part breathing, and learning how to come back. How many people found that useful? How many people tried holding in the breath? Did you find that when you were holding in your breath for 3 or 4 or 5 seconds, you really couldn't think about anything? You ever notice that? I mean, perhaps there could have been some subtle thoughts, but it takes all of the effort to hold the breath in. It really consumes every ounce of your effort to do that. So therefore, it pulls that other thoughts out, and you can really feel that present moment, especially when you're holding in the breath, or the pause after the out breath too. You can, by training, you can learn how to, that pause after the out breath, that can be extended even to 5 or 10 seconds. It's also a very, very deep state of tranquil mind. So that's why, I learned that from my own yoga practice and learning in the yoga ashram 50 years ago now. I was just telling Judah this morning, but it's been 50 years since I took my first yoga, teacher training course in India 50 years ago. And that was one of the most valuable things that I learned, was that 3-part breathing, and especially training yourself to be able to extend the breath, make it longer and longer, so that basically you reduce your rate of respiration from the normal 10 or 15 times a minute as the average person breathes, to even bring it down to just 2 or 3 times a minute. And it drastically changes the blood chemistry of the blood, chemistry of the blood, and also the brain, and helps to shift the attention and shift the nervous system from the sympathetic flight or fight mode to the parasympathetic mode, which is the more meditative one, and helps to create alpha brain waves. You might have heard of alpha brain waves, right? Well, that's a brain wave of a more meditative state of mind, close to like the jhana and so on. But anyway, so that's why those M&Ms are very powerful for doing that. But you have to do them, regularly. It's like collecting rain from a rooftop. If you have a bucket underneath, one of your gutters or where rain is coming off the roof, if you just collect 1 or 2 drops, you may not have enough to, quench your thirst or, wash your hands with. But if you accumulate enough, then you will be able to, use it for some purpose. So the same way with the M&Ms, you have to make a habit to try to do that as often as you can throughout the day. And the very best time to do the M&M is when you get up in the morning. So when your alarm clock goes off, when you get up, or then before quickly, oh my gosh, I have to get up. Pause. When you hear that alarm, actually, that's the time to have the mindfulness. Be aware of actually waking up. Tell yourself, okay, now I'm waking up. How many people do that? Not anybody, right? You just immediately start moving, and especially if you got up late, right? Then you're in a panic. Oh my gosh, I'm late. And jump out of the bed and kind of run to the bathroom and trip over something that was left on the floor, that night by your partner or by your child or something. You trip and fall down and injure yourself. And that, it's kind of just rush. So to start that, the moment or right at when you wake up, try to remind yourself, okay, now I'm waking up. Don't rush. Kind of just practice, don't rush. And just slowly kind of, stretch a bit, sit up, and then stand up and do an M&M then before going anywhere else. Even if you have a full bladder and you need to go to the bathroom, hopefully that can wait for, 1 minute. And you start at that time. You take a couple of deep, slow breaths, and just keep reminding yourself, don't rush, don't rush. And then mindfully, take a couple of slower steps maybe, but then, go do what you have to do. But even if you're not regular on a minute, it's a good thing to pause between different activities. So let's say you go to the bathroom, you take a shower, you comb your hair or shave, and then you're going to go downstairs and get breakfast. So before leaving that, once you've finished in the bathroom, before turning around and rushing downstairs, pause. Take a deep, slow breath. Remind yourself, don't rush, don't rush. Because it's when we rush, it's when we make mistakes. We trip over things, we do other kind of accidents. So you go downstairs, or maybe even in the bathroom, you open the medicine cabinet and you find out some other person in your household, used the last bit of the shampoo or the last bit of soap. You can notice yourself getting upset. Why? So hopefully you can catch yourself. Oh, okay. No, get upset. And you go downstairs to make your breakfast, open the fridge, somebody drank the last of the orange juice or the milk, You can catch the mind kind of starting to want to blame somebody or something like that. And then after you put on your water to cook your oatmeal, practice an M&M then when you're waiting for the water to boil. Instead of looking around or complaining about something or worrying about something, do one thing. And when you go out to start your car, or do that then too. Get the key out and pause. Okay. Take a deep breath. Prep yourself. Prep yourself. Okay. Whatever happens on the road, you get stuck in traffic, or somebody cuts me off, let me not get angry, not get upset. And then like that throughout the day, you can always find times to do that, because normally we kind of fritter away or waste our time during the day repeating unessential things, or if you rush, you make mistakes and you have to spend time doing it, correcting that mistake. Then if you would have just moved more mindfully, did the M&Ms, and so that way you can maintain a more even type of mental state, throughout the morning's activities. And then, because we accumulate stress and can come at any time. Things can happen at any time, isn't it? You can think the day's going to go right and everything is perfect, and all of a sudden you get a call at 9:30 in the morning, from the school saying, your child is playing hooky today. Where are they? Get upset about that, or you get a call from the policeman saying they caught your son or daughter, dealing drugs in the corner, or something else, or drunk driving, or some other news. You get a call from the doctor saying that the cancer test that you were getting came out positive, and there's panic. So like that all day long there can be getting kind of news like that affects people, causes a lot of stress for them. So doing these M&Ms, anytime something like that happen, that's the time there and then to do an M&M. So you don't let it fester in your mind. You just don't go running around half, caught, so to speak, to calm down and relax. Just even one slow, deep breath has a balming effect, and it's really the greatest thing. It doesn't cost anything. You can do it anywhere, even in a crowded elevator. You can do 3-part breathing while you're standing in the middle of 6 or 8 people around you, and then maybe they have bad breath or something. You can just send them metta, breathing in, breathing out, and all these people will be happy, well and happy, free from greed and hatred. So there's lots of ways that we can utilize those times during the day. So that's the real Dhamma practice, really. We think we practice Dhamma by meditating for a whole hour in the evening or reading a sutta. Certainly, no doubt, those are very good, but you don't create too much bad karma doing that. But most of your bad karma, that means your stress, your anger, and other negative states of mind, happen in your unexpected encounters out there, whether it's driving your car, it's at work, encountering people, hearing bad news. And so that's a time when we really need to have our mindfulness and to reflect on the Buddhist teachings about impermanence, and that our mind is always creating a mountain out of a molehill. You hear some news and immediately the mind thinks of the worst case scenario, and you start overreacting, and then you find out later that that particular thing didn't happen. let's say somebody gets a call and say, oh, I think your child was involved in an accident, and immediately you get all upset and phone the hospital or something else. And you go to the hospital and you find out, they just had a tiny little scratch or something. It was no big deal. But yet you allowed your mind to get overly worried about it. Or some person in your workplace was telling lies about you or trying to, get you fired, to get you a job or something like that. Or maybe it was a rumor somebody else told you. And then, this idea of idle talk, slandering, talking about others behind their back, how these rumors get started. A lot of times they're unfounded. Where a person might start a rumor about somebody because of their own greed. They didn't like the person to ruin their reputation, but actually it wasn't true. Because we hear about these things all the time, don't we? Especially in politics and other things like that. So these are all, this is really where the Dhamma rubber meets the road in terms of the Dhamma practice, by keeping up the daily meditation. And, the daily meditation should be seen just as important than brushing your teeth or taking a bath every day. And most people probably take a shower or a bath or a shower once a day, or at least, once in a couple of days or once a week, whatever. They, and brush their teeth. Why do they do that? Why do you brush your teeth every day?
Basic needs and hygiene. Care of the body.
Okay, but maybe even more important that you don't want to go to work in the morning and smile at your boss with a piece of spinach hanging down between your teeth, right? So that's just an example. Or have bad breath or something like that. So we, make sure our bodies are looking nicely and, don't have an odor. But what about our mind? What's the odor of the mind? Anybody have an idea? What don't you like about other people when they talk?
Negative, complaining.
Somebody's always complaining or or criticizing others, or just talking nonsense, wasting your time and so on. So, or their pride and conceited, or is talking about themselves and so on. So, like that. So that's the smell of the mind. So that's what the daily meditation does. It helps your mind to be more pleasing to yourself and to others, to have more, kindness in the mind and so on, and to speak, kind and gentle words and things like that. So that's why that the daily meditation is important for that. And not only because of that, but also just to learn how to be more mindful. And so that you don't make so much mistakes. You're working at your desk or you're at the cafeteria and you unmindfully reach out to get something and you knock over a glass of water or something on the table, or you get in some other little accident, drop your tray of food, or spill coffee at your office, the coffee machine, and somebody behind you, blames you. So by being more mindful, we could hopefully, prevent those kind of things. So, and that's why those M&Ms are important for keeping your mindfulness up to that level. Because just meditating once a day or even twice a day may not be enough. Because anybody can really stop for 1 day. You waste so much time. So now, does anybody have any last questions they might like to ask? Everybody think they learned something from the retreat? What did anybody learn? You can share something if you think you learned something.
I find out that breathing 1 or 2 times per minute is the most helpful for me to calm my mind.
You know, developing 3-part breathing, although, you know, it takes some practice to do that. And what the meaning of that is that there's different breath ratios. So in the beginning, people have very shallow breaths because their lungs are kind of contracted from not using them, and because of their mind and their thoughts also affect the way you breathe. But so even just to train yourself, you can have a loud ticking clock at home and kind of regulate your breath so that you're taking 1 second to breathe in the lower part, 1 second in the middle, 1 second at the top, and hold your breath in for 1 or 2 seconds, and then taking 3 seconds to breathe out. So how many total seconds is that already? 3 and 3 is 6 plus 2, 8. So 8 breaths a minute is what? It's okay. So you've reduced it from an ordinary 15 a minute, which most people have, even at rest. Now, but that 3 second breath is very, very elementary. Anybody can do that. But then you raise it up to a 6 second breath. You're taking 2 seconds to breathe in the lower, 2 seconds middle, 2 seconds in the top. Hold it in for 3. It's called a 2-by-1 ratio. So you want to breathe in like what's called a 6-by-3. When you can do that for 5 minutes without any strain, boost it up to an 8-by-4. Taking 8 seconds to breathe in, 1/3 lower, middle, and upper, and hold it in for about 4 seconds. And then even when you can do that for 5 minutes without feeling strain, increase it to a 10-by-5 or a 12-by-6. And a 10-by-5 or a 12-by-6, even though it does take some practice, it's not really that difficult, but you're reducing your respiration. Crunch some numbers. What's a 10-by-5? 30 seconds for 1 breath, 2 breaths a minute. If you can do that kind of breathing, or even just 2 or even 4 breaths a minute, and you can maintain that for at least 9 rounds or 12 rounds, you could almost be in samadhi just by doing that by itself. That's how powerful it is. Or at least some good state of relaxation and present moment awareness. And if you can do it even longer, you can attain the first jhana by doing that 3-part breathing. So that's why it's so, it's so powerful, because it shifts the nervous system from the sympathetic mode to the parasympathetic mode, just by doing that. So I really encourage people to work with that. And do it at the beginning of your meditation, because you're already sitting down to meditate, right? Or standing meditation. So take that opportunity to try to do that, to take a couple more of those breaths, to extend it longer, extend the amount of time, how you hold it in for maybe a second longer. And that way, little by little, over the weeks and months, that's the way you gain. And then it becomes very easy to do, and it'll be really your refuge, because you can do it anywhere. Even when you're sitting in a boring meeting with all your bosses, you just sit straight and let them yap and yap and yap, and just do some deep, slow breathing and smile on the out breath. They won't know what you're doing. Okay, we have to have fun with the Dhamma. You got to make Dhamma fun. A lot of people think, oh, Dhamma's so boring. You got to make it fun. You have to know how to make it fun. Okay, friends. So I wish you all the best in the new year, and make a New Year's resolution to try to practice those M&Ms, or try to get back to a regular twice daily meditation routine, and maybe take 1 day a week to, practice some extra precept, like to be more silent, or to not so much watch so much junky news or other stuff away, and to make more time, or read a sutta, and so on, things like that. Because that's the way you accumulate the Dhamma. You accumulate right understanding, right thought, and then you develop your mindfulness and the effort, the effort to do this. Okay? So,
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
so what are you going to tell your friends when they ask you at work, what do you do on New Year's Eve? They say, what? Are you crazy? There's a great party you missed. You didn't see the ball drop from New York? Okay. So when the mind gets in Dhamma, it's a whole other kind of universe. Okay, so we're going to break the noble silence now, and so we're going to go for lunch. And then, now, anything that you've used from the center, if for some reason you'd forgotten a pillowcase or a sheet or something, if you used anything like that, please bring them to the laundry room. And maybe we'll have Olga, she's staying here for a couple of extra days.
I'm not staying until tomorrow, so I can help.
So, if needed. Okay, so just bring any, or if you use any of our towels, and just try to clean up the rooms and empty all the trash can. I wish you all the best in the new year. And on Wednesday nights, I do a Zoom program, give a guided meditation during, like I did the other night here. And so, if you have difficulty, getting in good meditations in the evening, it's a good time to do that.
Bhante, when will be the next longer retreat?
Look on our website. I just put it up. It's going to be over the President's Day weekend. It's not a long retreat. It's just a Friday to Sunday, or maybe it's a Thursday to a Sunday. 2 or 3 days. But I just listed it up on our website. Okay, so all of you out there still listening on Zoom, wish you a Happy New Year, and try to keep up your meditation practice in the days ahead. Namo Buddhaya. And don't forget, mindfulness a day keeps dukkha away.